In today's episode, I'll tell you how Toastmasters is helping me on my journey from pharmacist to voice actor. Plus, I'll deliver my icebreaker speech right here on the podcast. You're listening to the Pharmacist Voice Podcast, a journey-style podcast about my career change from pharmacist to voice actor. I'm your host, Kim Newlove. I alternate solo shows and interview shows. The solo shows are about my career change, and the interview shows feature a variety of people who use their voices to advocate, educate, or entertain. I specialize in medical narration and e-learning. If you have a project in mind, contact me through my website, thepharmacistvoice.com. That's The Pharmacist, with an S, voice.com. Thank you for joining me for episode 28. Like I said, I'll deliver my icebreaker speech here on the podcast, but first, I need to set this up. Introduce it, if you will. On Friday, July 10th this year, I delivered an icebreaker speech at my Toastmasters Club. Because of the pandemic, I gave the speech in front of my computer in my office instead of our usual meeting place in Toledo. Thanks to modern technology, my club's meetings are conducted on Zoom. If you're wondering, Kim, what's Toastmasters, and what does that have to do with your journey from pharmacist to voice actor? Well, hang in there, the answers are coming. I'll tell you about Toastmasters and what an icebreaker speech is, then I'll deliver the speech, and after the speech, I'll tell you more about how Toastmasters is helping me on my journey from pharmacist to voice actor. I think you're going to figure it out as I'm giving the speech. According to their website, Toastmasters International is a nonprofit educational organization that teaches public speaking and leadership skills through a worldwide network of clubs. There are more than 16,800 clubs in 143 countries, and there are more than 358,000 members. The organization was founded in 1924, and their headquarters are located in Englewood, Colorado. That's in the USA. Toastmasters International helps people from diverse backgrounds become more confident speakers, communicators, and leaders. Membership is affordable. If you want to learn more, visit toastmasters.org. I'll put a link in the show notes. Check that out. Toastmasters uses a structured curriculum to build skills, and an icebreaker speech is the first speech a member gives on their path through the curriculum. This was basically an opportunity for me to tell my Toastmasters Club about me, what brought me to Toastmasters, and my goals for being in the club. The length is supposed to be 4 to 6 minutes. On the member website, there's a helpful worksheet with suggestions for content and transitions. Toastmasters makes it really pretty easy to craft a speech. My club assigned me a mentor too, and she helped me get started. Hopefully, that's enough backstory for you to follow what Toastmasters is and why I gave this speech. Are you ready? The title of the speech is Good Timing. Good morning. I'm excited to give my icebreaker speech today. I'll tell you a little about me, what brought me to Toastmasters, and the goals I hope to achieve. First, I'll tell you a little about myself. I'm a pharmacist, voice actor, podcast host, wife, and mother. I don't work anywhere as a pharmacist right now. I work part-time as a voice actor. I specialize in medical narration, e-learning, and audiobooks. The name of my podcast is The Pharmacist Voice. It's a weekly show about my career change from pharmacist to voice actor. I alternate solo shows and interview shows. The solo shows are about my career transition, and the interview shows feature a variety of people who use their voices to advocate, educate, or entertain. You can find my podcast on my website, thepharmacistvoice.com. Next, I want to tell you about my family. I married my high school sweetheart, Nathan. We met in 1993 at a friend's house. He was 17, I was 14. He was a senior, I was a freshman. Our friend's dad happened to be a pastor. Can you guess where this is going? That same pastor married us 8 years later in 2001. If you do the math, Nathan and I have been together for 27 years and married for 19. We live in Perrysburg with our 2 sons. Craig is 17 and has autism, and Derek is a typical 15-year-old boy. Timing is everything. If we hadn't met at that friend's house, we may never have met. Speaking of timing, last August, my husband and I met Mike and his wife Katie at a party. When Mike learned that I was a voice actor and developing a podcast, he enthusiastically told me about Toastmasters and invited me to a meeting. He told me that Toastmasters would make me a better communicator. He said the right thing to me at the right time. My first Toastmasters meeting as a guest was last October. At that meeting, the Master and the grammarian made the biggest impression on me. I learned that other people notice filler words and bad grammar. I'm so glad I found that out before I started recording my podcast. I joined Toastmasters in January of this year. Watching each of you conduct yourselves at meetings has been an education for me. You are helping me become a better communicator. Thank you. As I move forward on my Toastmasters journey with Margie as my mentor, I have 5 goals to share with you. First, I need to improve my extemporaneous speaking skills. As a narrator, I'm used to having an outline or a script to follow. Second, I'd like to learn how to get to the point quickly and finish one thought before moving on to the next one. My husband and my 15-year-old son Derek tell me that I have a bad habit of taking side trips or repeating the same point 3 different ways, and they find it annoying. I don't blame them. Third, I've been told that my delivery style can be direct. I'd like to broaden those delivery skills. Fourth, I want to find a delivery pace that's just right for listener comprehension. Fifth, and finally, I'd like to learn how to give a good evaluation. I've seen so many of you give constructive and thoughtful evaluations. I'd like to learn how to do that too. In closing, Toastmasters came into my life at a great time. Thank you again, Mike, for inviting me. You were right. Toastmasters is helping me become a more effective communicator. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster. Actually, back to the podcast. If you're wondering, what does Toastmasters have to do with your journey from pharmacist to voice actor? Here are 3 highlights. First, Toastmasters is helping me become a better podcaster. My podcast is an important part of my brand. When I developed my podcast last fall, I truly didn't realize how much other people notice filler words and bad grammar. I used to start many a sentence with the word so. It's conversational, but in a speech or even a podcast, it can be distracting. I decided I didn't want to be an machine or start every sentence with the word so. I've been working on my filler words and grammar ever since. Second, Toastmasters gives me an opportunity to speak in public without preparation on a topic I didn't pick. Another name for it is extemporaneous speaking. It also reminds me of the improv class I used to take. In Toastmasters, part of the meeting involves something called table topics. Someone will ask me to speak for 1 to 2 minutes, and only 1 to 2 minutes, on a topic of their choosing. Really, it's part of the meeting. I have to speak for at least 60 seconds, but I can't speak for more than 2.5 minutes. Otherwise, I'm not eligible for the awards part at the end of the meeting. Hey, I want to win. The competition piece makes me want to bring a good short story, but the time constraint and unprepared nature of the exercise forces me to get to the point. Life is often like that. As a community pharmacist, sometimes I only had 1 to 2 minutes to counsel a patient on a medication. I had to get to the point quickly. Toastmasters would have helped me in those situations. As a voice actor, I work with a variety of coaches. If I only get 60 minutes with them, and I'm paying for that 60 minutes, I don't want to waste even 1 minute on a rant. I'd rather get to the point quickly so I can get my money's worth out of that lesson. Third and finally, Toastmasters is helping me on my journey from pharmacist to voice actor because I get to use my voice and get feedback immediately. Whether I'm running the table topics or timing the meeting, maybe I'm providing the word of the day or giving a speech, I get feedback. There are many roles to learn and plenty to gain by volunteering for them. When I gave my icebreaker speech, I knew that in less than an hour, I would get some feedback. An experienced evaluator told me what I excelled at, what to work on, and how to challenge myself as I move forward on my Toastmasters journey. Let's wrap this up. I am having a great experience with Toastmasters, and it is helping me on my journey from pharmacist to voice actor. If you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know that from time to time I talk about Toastmasters. I've never devoted an entire episode to it. This is a first, but I'll keep you posted. And if you have a question about Toastmasters, contact me through my website, thepharmacistvoice.com. Thank you for joining me for episode 28 of the Pharmacist Voice podcast. Join me next Friday, July 31st for episode 29. It's an interview with Dr. Jerika Dodd, a pharmacist, entrepreneur, and leader. Then join me for my next solo episode on Friday, August 7th. I plan to talk about conferences, the pharmacist kind and the voiceover kind. Please visit thepharmacistvoice.com to subscribe and read the show notes. That's thepharmacist, with an S, voice.com.